Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Last time we discussed the ecology. Now there is another topic, that is environment. Environment can be defined as the sum total of all the conditions. Sum total of all the conditions, physical and biotic, or the physical and biotic conditions that surround and potentially influence the responses of organisms. It was given by S.C. Kendig in 1974. Simply, we say that surroundings of an organism is called its environment. Now, another scientist's name was Melzer. Melzer in 1965 defined environment as the sum total of all the conditions or factors, those directly or indirectly influence the survival and reproduction of organisms. So, सारे कंडीशंस या फैक्टर्स जो एक ऑर्गेनिज्म को सराउंड करेंगे, इसके इन्फ्लुएंस करेंगे, इसके रेस्पॉन्सेस को, इसके सर्वाइवल को या इसके रिप्रोडक्शन को, उसको बोलते हैं हम एनवायरनमेंट. द वेरियस कंपोनेंट्स of environment are interlinked as well as interdependent. The various components of environment are interlinked as well as interdependent. जो भी कंडीशंस हैं या फैक्टर्स हैं वो एक दूसरे, या कंपोनेंट्स हैं एनवायरनमेंट के, वो एक दूसरे पर इंटरडिपेंडेंट है. दैट मीन्स वन डिपेंड्स अपॉन द अदर. नाउ देयर exists an intricate relationship. Between the morphology and physiological activities of the organism. There exists an intricate relationship between the morphology and physiological activities of organism and the environment of a region. तो एक रीजन में जो भी एनवायरनमेंट है उसमें जो मॉर्फोलॉजिकल या फिजियोलॉजिकल एक्टिविटीज हैं ऑर्गेनिजम्स के, वो एक दूसरे के साथ डीपली इंटररिलेटेड हैं. नाउ every habitat has its own particular type of environment. Every habitat Every habitat has its own particular type of environment. तो हर एक habitat में अपना एक environment होता है. Now all the conditions of environment, all the conditions of the environment, all the conditions of environment which surround and affect the life of an organism, which surround and affect the life of an organism in any respect are called as factors of environment, or ecological factors, or simply factors. All the conditions of the environment, जो भी conditions होते हैं environment में, which surround and affect the life of an organism in any respect are called as factors of environment, or environmental or ecological factors, or simply factors. Living organisms, plants, animals and microorganisms, that is biotic environment, that constitute the biotic environment. That means all the living conditions like plants, animals and microorganisms, they constitute the biotic environment. While as the physical conditions like air, water, temperature, minerals, sunlight or solar energy, etc. These constitute the abiotic environment. Now, in a habitat or environment, some components function as the resource. In an environment, some components or some factors, they function as a resource. They act as the resource, while others work as the regulatory factors. Now I can quote an example. For example, there is water. Nowadays, water, rain, or you can say the temperature, these help in the growth of the mosquitoes. We can say the stagnant water or the temperature, these, or rainwater, these, all the factors help in the growth of mosquitoes. While as a fast wind or a heavy rain or a fast wind, that destroys the population of mosquitoes, and that is said to be the regulatory factor. So one can act as the resource and another can act as the regulatory factor, and these factors also determine the variations in the physical and chemical nature of different habitats. That means these factors, the resources and the regulatory factors, these also determine the variations in the physical and chemical nature of different habitats. In the physical and chemical nature of different habitats. Now, all the living organisms and their environment are reactive. All the living organisms and their environment are reactive. That means they react with each other, they affecting each other, affecting each other. Thus, an environment is made up of several interrelated factors. An environment is made up of several interrelated factors and is dynamic with the space and time. And is dynamic. An environment is dynamic, that is changing with space and time. That is, at a particular time it can change, with a particular space it can change. It is not the environment which influences the life of organisms. It is not only the environment which influences the life of an organism. That means, no doubt we can say the environment modifies the organisms, but organisms too modify the environment. So it is vice versa action. That means it is not only the environment which influences the life of an organisms, but organisms too modify the environment. And these factors जो हैं, these ecological factors or the environmental factors or simply the factors, ecological factors, these have been mainly divided into two groups, two main groups. So earlier I mentioned, now on the basis of nature, they have been divided into two main categories. One is called as biotic, you know it. Biotic means all the living organisms, living components or biological factors, or these are called as the biological factors. And these constitute plants, these constitute animals, and also these constitute the microorganisms. Microorganisms. Now, all these biotic or living or biological components, these can be also classified as producers, and these can be, the consumers, and these can be decomposers. Now, only plants are capable of capturing solar energy and transforming it into food energy for all the other living organisms. And thus these are called as producers. These plants are also named as autotrophs. These are also named as autotrophs, you know it. Autotrophs, as they make their own food. Now there is another group, that is consumers. Now animals depend upon the plants directly or indirectly. That is, herbivores feed on plants directly, and carnivores or omnivores, they may be indirectly dependent upon plants. Now all the animals which depend upon the plants directly or indirectly for their food and are called as consumers, and their mode of nutrition, it is called as heterotrophic. Their mode of nutrition is called as heterotrophic. Now consumers, those can be herbivores. And those can be carnivores. And those can be omnivores. And we also recognize the parasites and scavengers. And lastly, there are decomposers. These feed on dead and decaying animals and plants. Decomposers feed on dead and decaying. These feed on dead and decaying animals and plants. They are small, microscopic, mainly microscopic, or sometimes macroscopic, and they help in recycling of nutrients. They help in recycling of nutrients in the environment. Nutrients in environment. Now there are abiotic factors. Abiotic factors are non-living or physical components of the environment. These are also called as physico-chemical factors or simply physical environment. Abiotic जो है इसको physical environment, physical environment इसको बोलते हैं also. And these are divided into following categories. Number one is climatic factors. Climatic factors, which are related to climatic conditions, and these include light, water, temperature. These also include the humidity, wind. These also include the wind. These also include soil, water, rainfall, atmospheric gases. Rainfall, atmospheric gases. And there is second category, which is called as edaphic factors. Edaphic factors. That is all the factors which are related to soil. All the factors related to soil. They are called as edaphic factors. For example, there is soil, air. There is soil, water. Soil, water or soil moisture. There is soil solution. Soil solution. There is soil organic matter. Soil organic matter. Soil organic matter. Mineral matter. Soil organisms. Etc. That is all the factors related to soil. All the conditions related to soil, they are called as edaphic factors. And there is another that is called as topographic factors. Topographic factors include altitude. There is direction of mountains. There is slope and exposure. Now in India there is for regulation of environmental conditions or environment or our ecology, there is Ministry of Forests, Environment and Forests, that has been established in 1984. And here was the scientist Ramdev Misra. Last time I told you, there is Ramdev Misra. Ramdev Misra is known as the father of Indian ecology. Father of Indian ecology. Now, due to his efforts, the government of India established the Ministry of Environment and Forests. Ministry of Environment and Forests in 1984. In 1984.